Hi, um, I'm back for now. I am back. I was very inspired to make this video, and I felt inspired to make a connection with my YouTube subscribers and family out there, and just to express my gratitude for all of you for coming along for my journey. And um, I really I wanted to also share a bit about myself and where I currently am in my journey, and just some musings about some wisdom that I have gained along the way, along the path. Just yeah, just where I am, free flowing. I It is New Year's Eve, and today feels like just like really any other day. It's not really a particularly special day for me. Um, Neither is the New Year, because the things that I've been wanting to do I've been already, doing them already. It's nothing particularly special. However, I noticed some synchronicities with um, just how I've been reflecting on my journey, and the 1 year mark, reflecting on where I was a year ago. And, yesterday I woke up crying. I had a really bad dream, and I had a dream that my mom was choking me and screaming at me, and I um, it was like more of like it wasn't really like as much of a physical hurt, physical pain, as much as it was spiritual and emotional, but more so in my spirit. I felt the pain that I had felt before of being, with, in a very toxic environment, and being with around toxic people, uh, unfortunately, my family members. And, you know, I, yeah, I woke up crying, and I, I felt it was almost like a replay, a reenactment of exactly how my spirit felt last year. Just like I was in such a dark place. Like I felt, I was so sad. Like I was sad, and I was in a very, very, very dark and painful place in my life at this moment in time. And I remember, you know, that day that I woke up yesterday, when I woke up with feeling that pain. It took me like the whole day to realize that was the day, December 30th of last year, that I had a really bad crisis at home, and I knew that it was no longer safe, or it wasn't okay for me to live at home anymore. And so began my process um, of leaving, and asking for help on YouTube. And I made a YouTube video just crying. It was an hour long, and I asked for help. It was just one of the rawest, most painful, darkest times of my life. It was kind of like a short period that was very like dark, but I remember at one point feeling like you know I literally felt like God was punishing me, and I've never felt that before in my entire life. And I've gone through some pretty dark shit before, Well, I mean, before, when I didn't really believe in God at all, for several years of my life. So that's part of it. So there was no God, and there was no concept of punishment. But like, I don't even believe in all that stuff. I don't even believe in like the Christian God or anything, or like the punishment sort of thing, and that God will cast you down to hell. Like, but I felt like I was like, why are you punishing me? And I felt that at around this time last year when I woke up, I was crying, but I came out of it and I realized it was a dream, and that I had lived that dream before, and that look at where I am now. And I was just flooded with gratitude, and flooded with, just a lot of gratitude and positivity for how far I've come in my journey this year. The process of, the universe really just giving birth to me and into a new life was painful, as, and it was uncomfortable, just as birth is. It often is uncomfortable, but I surrendered to the process, and I knew that I was supposed to move forward, and I just like went along my journey, and there's been a lot of um, it's been a lot of miracles have happened for me this year, a lot of unexpected blessings through the generosity of others, and as well, just tapping into my own capabilities that I didn't really know was possible, and which I'll get into a bit later about like just how I've like found my way here. But I moved across the country to Los Angeles, which is where I wanted to give birth to certain aspects of my artistry, and I'm here, and I have a beautiful life, and um, every step I take is still a leap of faith and continues to be, and um, I still live with a lot of uncertainty. You know, life is perfect, but it's not necessarily perfect either. It's just like there are things that I'm still working to create. A better life for myself through all of it. Through some of even like financial ups and downs that I've had, which right now I'm also in that. In a little bit of like financial, I don't know, what is it, like a slowdown period, especially because of the holidays, and just being like an entrepreneur. But I am, I my spirit and is happy, and I'm grateful, and um, I am surrounded by good people, and I live a healthy lifestyle, and uh, I feed myself with good things, and I have a cat. There's a lot of beautiful things in my life that uh, money just can't buy, and a lot of it I've given birth to because I've given rise to those things within myself first. So I'm so grateful for where I am in my life. I'm grateful for like you know that I've left so much of the negativity that I needed to leave behind to be who I am today, and to be in a position to grow into the woman that I'm becoming, and to serve and express in the way that I'm meant to, because it's very, very important to me. So thank you guys for those who have supported me uh, financially, for those who have sustained me uh, and provided encouragement and positivity, for those who believed in me the whole way through, and really nourished me in whatever way they could. Thank you. I really appreciate it. So, yeah, I wanted to talk about just like a couple of things that that I've been like processing, um, just at this stage in the game, at this stage in the journey. So I wanted to share, like, I'm just gonna be real, like really real, and uh, just talk about something that recently occurred. That this year, uh, part of me coming into myself and uh, my capabilities. I'll tell you a story. When I moved to LA, when I moved to Los Angeles, um, I I had a very particular idea of like what kind of work I wanted to do and to sustain myself while I built my life and invested in my creative pursuits and my creative passions. And I was looking and looking and looking for a job, and I was slowly spending all my savings, and you know, nobody was hiring me. Nobody even called me back, not once. Nobody, nobody even got back to me. Like it was the rejection uh, was fucking ridiculous. Like I would put in my resume and my cover letter that I'm a filmmaker and I did all this work on this film and I've marketed it and I've made this number of sales and I've I'm doing this kind of work and I have this brand coming up and this wellness, and I was like trying to prove my worth to these gatekeepers all the time who had, who I felt like had a piece of my destiny in their hands. And that's what applying for jobs felt like. And I really, really fucking hated it. And I, I really just did not like it. I was really pushed, the universe pushed me and kind of like almost, how do I want to say, forced. I was really like guided into it, but I do feel like I was pushed into it, pushed into entrepreneurship. And because that was my best option for what I said that I needed and required out of my life. And, and I was guided back to what got me to Los Angeles in the first place, what got me out of my uh, home life situation in the first place, what got me those resources was my art, was my film. I had done this work, at the beginning of the year, and it saved my life. And it gave me the money and the resources that I needed to launch a new life. And I thought that I was finished with that work, and I thought that I was done with it. And it turns out that I wasn't, and I just kind of like had to scrape, and I thought that I exhausted the whole market, and it turns out that I didn't, and I ended up doing a bigger campaign to market my film to universities around the world that I um, than I had ever done before in the years that I had been doing this. And I did it because I knew that it had to work, and I knew that I had to earn a living from this, and I knew that this is how I was going to do it. And I was just like very, very sure that this is what was going to happen. And so, I like I did it, and it worked, and I was able to, within a couple of months, have a functioning film distribution business where I started selling my documentary to universities, libraries, and community organizations all around the world. I would say, I've made a pretty good living off of doing that, for some time. And, I, there have been a lot of like high moments where I've just felt like, maybe because I am not like, I, when I came out here, I wasn't really used to like having like a whole ton of money. And from my personal experiences of like having a lot of financial ups and downs, I knew that I gained confidence in my relationship with finances and money to where I could trust the universe and I could afford to invest in myself, and I wasn't just in a survival mindset with the money I made of like, oh, I have to hoard this, I have to save this, I have to keep it for an emergency. Like, no, I've been living well and investing in myself and able to also pay my bills um, and eat great food and just like ball out occasionally, like whatever that means. Um, and like I've still had like ups and downs. What I realized is that it's not, really about like what you have in your bank account that determines the quality of the life that you live and how you invest in yourself and how you treat yourself, but it is literally how you feel about yourself, and how abundant you feel inside that dictates your relationship with money and how you feel about the money that you have, no matter how much it is. So um, I just wanted to say that, just to give some backstory, but something that happened was that I didn't see this coming. I was making money into December, which I never even saw possible. And then all of a sudden, I was expecting a check to come in. I was expecting two checks to come in, and they didn't. And then all the schools closed down, and you know, uh, and I was just left with like, I don't know, what was it? At the time, it must have been like $50. That was like 2 weeks ago. By the time I realized how much money I had, I was like, oh, I didn't even realize. I didn't even realize like that. I didn't even see it coming. Like the down. Like I didn't even see it coming. So I had enough to pay, some necessities and buy 1 week's worth of groceries, and then I didn't know what I was going to do after that. And so basically, a couple of weeks ago, I entered a lean period, what I call is a lean period. I bought a journal for $3 because I bought a journal and I wrote, the first line that I wrote was, "These are the lean times." And what happened was I had all these plans for the money that I was going to make because I was still in the process of like trusting the universe and money is going to flow back to me and it's okay and all these things, which was a good thing. But when it didn't come in when I expected it to, it was like a blow. And I had to like, it was humbling in a way. And it made me slow down and really it made me be still and really like be extra mindful about everything. I began to really go deep within because number one, I had spent all my money and so I didn't have enough for groceries for the next week, and I also definitely was not going to pay my rent on time, and still not. Rent is due tomorrow. Not going to pay it on time. That's for sure, right? Like, just to think 6 months ago, I would have been like freaking out. Like, but I'm not even worried. Like, that's the last thing on my mind right now. Why? So I went into this period and I realized some things, like as I became increasingly like more mindful about the fact that like every single dollar that I spend or every single dollar that I have has this value that can be maximized. Like I started thinking differently about what I spend my money on, and I started being really mindful about it. And I didn't really have a whole lot of disposable income to like go out. Like I earned an Uber pass where I could take an Uber for $7 anywhere in the city. Like I could go from deep in the valley, which is where I live, to like Venice Beach for $7. And that's like, I don't know, what is it, 50, 40 something miles? Like, and I'm all about luxury too. Like that's the thing. I'm a Taurus, so I love luxury. That is part of who I am. That is part of my DNA. That's how I was designed. I love luxury. I love fine things. I love fancy things. I love, with like, in good spirits, but like, so all of that was just gone, like in the way that I was doing it before, momentarily. I What happened during that whole period, or during this period that I'm still in, is that I started to really, really go inside, and I really started to think about, to question everything. Because just before this happened, a lot of other things in my life were in upheaval, like not complete upheaval, but a lot of other things were happening, like the reasons why I moved to LA, to be able to train at a particular pole dance studio. That fell through. I wrote about it. It's in the description box. Somebody told me that, I stink, and then my whole relationship with that studio ended. Like, and then my relationship with my film distributor is coming to an end, and like that relationship, that which has been going on for like 3-4 years, is like ending. My film campaign is ending at the beginning of next year in 2018, and I have to move on to create a new business and create new opportunities for myself, because after having experienced what I experienced this year with like I came into a very, very deep understanding this year that uh, I'm not, having a job is not for me, and entrepreneurship is my path, and that is what works for me. That's what works for me. Like, having a job literally is like never been sustainable for me. Jobs are never sustainable or secure for me. Entrepreneurship is more stable and secure for me. And I'm saying this having like 50 cents to my name. I knew that I had seen something on the horizon for me that I really wanted to figure out, and I really wanted to know, what am I going to do after I finish this work with my film, because a lot of people, when I tell people that, like, um, I sell my film for a living, and yes, I made this film, and oh, what did you do on the film? I did everything. I directed it, I wrote it, I produced it, I did the editing, I did the shooting, I did the research. I got help from people, and I did learn like a lot of techniques while I was in school, but I did this film. This film has been very successful, like, but this is something that I did at a different point in my life years ago, and it no longer reflects what I do right now as an artist and what I am yearning to express as an artist. And so, it sounds cool, and it is cool, but like, it's not my passion. And actually the work that I do on the film, like actually the work that I do, it's not fun. There's aspects of it that are fun, like when I do screenings, and when I'm invited to do a screening, and like I just get to be there and be myself, like that's fun. Like, it's not necessarily my passion. It's something that I'm proud to do, and that I consider my work, and that I consider that has sustained me through this transition in my life and this period of my life. But I knew it has to come to an end, because I can't do it forever, and it's not sustainable. So I had to do something after that. And so I started really, really like going deep, because I didn't really have anything, like, so everything started falling through, and everything kind of started like dying in front of me, and everything was dying. And I really started like really deep questioning myself about what what is my purpose, what is my passion, what do I really want to say, what kind of imprint do I want to leave on the world, what is it that my heart and my spirit is yearning to do, like what would I do if I never had to worry about money ever again, what would I do if I were rich, what would I do, like how would I live my life, how do I want to design my life. I started thinking about that, and I started going into like, and seeing and uncovering like my fear-based patterns, just like a lot of subconscious fears and a lot of old programming about, oh, well, you need to do this, and you need to kind of like, you can do the entrepreneurship, but you kind of got to work it like a job, because I kind you kind of have to like, you have to do this to like have a good life, and like, all of those things, I started like deprogramming myself and really having like writing down my fears and having a questioning process about it. I was between two businesses, and one of them was something I wasn't passionate about that I viewed as something that would make money. But the other one was something I was passionate about that I want to grow with, but I kept putting it off. And that's the same thing with everything else that I've wanted to do. Is like, as an artist, there's so many things that I want to do and so many ways that I want to monetize my art, but I just kept putting it off. I started questioning, well, why don't you view this as being profitable? Or why don't you view this as being something that could also make it? Or why don't you view this as like, so I started questioning that, and like, it was just, it's been like a very deep process of self-inquiry that I've gone through in this period that I would like to call money fasting, because I literally have just had enough, just had like my necessities met, and literally I've eaten two very, very healthy, delicious meals today. Why? Because my friend gave me a love donation, like a love offering of money to help me feed myself through this lean period, because I wouldn't have been able to do it myself. Like, my friend she offered me money for my groceries and money for my Metro card so that I could go to the grocery store and come home. Like, it was literally like that. And after I spent that money on my groceries and my Metro card, I had 50 cents left, which is exactly what I have right now. The day that that happened, which was yesterday, something else popped up and someone else emailed me asking for a copy of my film. So you see how that works? I also have like a note on like the trusting aspect, because basically what I'm trying to say is that I came into this understanding that I that it it really is my duty to follow my purpose and my dreams and my passion with all of the life force that I have inside of me now, not 2 years from now, and not 1 year from now when I make this kind of money from doing this other kind of thing. And no, like, it's right now. And the lean times taught me is that when you have nothing to lose, you really have to look at yourself. I'm literally in a position right now that I had been fearing like 6 months ago. Like, this period would have been scary as shit 6 months ago. But 6 months ago, I wasn't clear on what I needed to do, and I wasn't clear on all of these things. I was still like stabilizing and grounding myself, and I just wanted stability, and I wanted to be grounded, and I wanted financial stability, and I wanted to sink my feet down into the earth and just be here. Literally, I have done that, and I have created a sense of stability for myself. And now that all of these things that I came here for are like, either they're dying or they're not for certain, or I know that everything, even just like living here, like living in this particular location, is bound to change at some point in the near future. Like, even just knowing those things, like, I still feel, somehow I feel good and I feel grounded, that I know that the stability that I've built is not rooted in anything external, and it's not rooted in how much money I have, and it's not rooted in the house that I live in, or anything. It's not. It's actually from me. So when I came to a point where I didn't have anything else to lose and everything was up in the air, and it gave me a sense of freedom, because I was like, well, what do I create from here? Like, I wouldn't call this the bottom by any means, because I feel like the bottom is about like, that is like a dark place, and I've had to explore some of those dark places. There has been crying that has occurred, But I'm just saying that like it gave me a sense of freedom to really expand and explore. Well, if I don't have anything to lose, and if I'm not tied down to anything like this, then what more is there for me? Like, what can I actually create? Like, what have I been holding off on? What have I been afraid to do? What have I not been able to do because I've committed my time towards other things that brought me this kind of false sense of security or stability through money? You know, what if money can be created through something else that I actually love? So, you know, I started thinking about those things, and I really realized that like this is my time, and that I'm entering a very deeply transformative period in my life. And it's exciting and it's beautiful, but it's really scary too. And like I'm just learning to embrace the fear, because I don't think that fear is a bad thing, and I don't think that it's bad to feel scared, and I don't think it's bad to ask someone to hold your hand through it either. You know, I sometimes do wish that I had like a mentor or something like that, but I feel like when I'm actually like when I get in tune with myself and my spirit, uh, that guides me the strongest. Like I don't really need like a life coach. You know what I'm saying? Like I have like God inside me. For real. It's like all I have to do is open my mouth and start speaking, and just God comes out, you know? Like I don't need to have like, you know, people's validation all the time. And it's not that validation is not important, but I also think, because I think that it's important to be around people who see you and who hear you, you know, and feel you. But I don't need validation all the time because I never had the luxury of having it. I didn't always have people around to give me the okay. Like, yeah, it's okay for you to do that. Yeah, you know, I didn't always have people to like, you know, to encourage every single thing that I do. I didn't always have a group of friends to do that, or, you know, a special mentor, like whatever. Like I've always had to dig inside myself and really ask myself these questions. And or I've had to learn from life experience and guide myself, you know? So like I really really have a lot to contribute to the world. And I know that I have a very strong sense of purpose. I have a very strong purpose here in life. And I'm going to get into that in a second, because I think about dying a lot too, like every day, you know. It spooks me, you know. But I have a very strong sense of purpose here, and I feel like I'm just being called to that even more. And this money thing has been a lesson for me to be mindful of how I spend my money. It's okay for me to splurge. It's okay for me to have luxury. It's definitely okay for me to always invest in myself in whatever way I need to. But I need to be mindful of what I'm doing. I need to be even more mindful, because I've been mindful about it. Like I'm not like I'm not like necessarily like I don't have an addiction to spending or shopping or anything, but I need to be even more mindful of it, you know? And it also showed me, it was like a fasting period to cut out like distractions and things that I didn't need, so that I could get back to what I did need, which is like in here, which is my heart, my spirit, my purpose. And it hasn't, the questions that I've asked myself have not been easily answered. And I'm still in my process, you know. But I know that this, what I'm sharing here, is real. It's some real shit. And I need to figure out and find a way for me to create opportunities for myself with my gifts and my artistry and my power and all of these tools that I've used to heal myself. I need to do that. that needs to be what needs to be done next. I just wanted to share my process with you guys because it's just been because I haven't really shared it with anybody. And honestly, like even though I do have like some good people around me, like I don't think that they really fucking understand. And I don't know if anybody out there will really understand either. Like I don't like everybody is in a completely different place within themselves. And so I can't assume that like everybody is going to like really be on the same page when they even hear this. Okay? But I do know that with me just sharing this, I'm going to help somebody. I'm going to inspire somebody. I'm going to help someone take the next step. I'm going to help someone think and self-reflect. I'm just grateful. I'm grateful to be like who I am and where I am. I'm grateful. You know. So, yeah. So a lot of beautiful things on the horizon, a lot of changes and shifts and transformations on the horizon, you know. But I'm grateful because I feel like this showed me some, even as much as it showed me the shadow side, it showed me how far I've come inside. Because, this, like I said, the stability that I've built inside of myself is not based on anything external. Months ago I was like, oh, where am I going, what am I going to do if I run out of money, if I have like, you know, a couple $100 in my account, like I need to go and be a stripper. Like now I'm just like, yeah, you know, like I, for the first time in my life, I know I'm not going to pay my rent on time, and I'm being still, and I'm going to go outside and sunbathe and uh, stretch and do yoga and you know, do my work and self care and I'm gonna keep doing it, which is what I, you know, like I'm gonna keep, just stay constant, you know. So um, yeah, I think about death a lot. I think about dying every day. I think about dying at really strange times and moments, and death comes and shows up next to me and taps me on the shoulder and spooks me. You know, it's kind of like a haunting. And I've always been fascinated with death since I was a baby. Like nobody taught me how. It's just like a relationship that I've had. But uh, death has been like showing up, like the energy just like show up all of a sudden, like, and I'll just feel it right there, and it's like I don't see it, I just feel it. Like it's more like it enters like my awareness. It's not something that I feel in the room. It's something that enters my consciousness. Like being conscious of death as being a real thing, feeling like, and what it feels like is more like a hyper awareness of my life, like a hyper awareness of my life, living, like actually being alive and knowing that this is not forever, and knowing that this is that everything, that this is temporary, that it's gonna happen, that I'm gonna die, like everyone's gonna die. But it's less about like knowing the fact of it and more about feeling it in my whole being, like feeling that presence and feeling uh, that awareness of that, and feeling like what like that knowingness actually feels like in my entire body. And like um, it's it's spooky. It's like it calls me to be present, if I can be, if I want to be present with it, it can really inspire a lot of presence, or I can try to run away from it. And when I try to run away from the feeling, because it is uncomfortable, when I try to run away from the feeling, I end up feeling overwhelmed or scared or anxious, or I get like a panic attack. Well, I don't really get a panic attack, but I get very, very, very anxious, and I like start like, you know, it's just like it's like a very intense feeling. Um, and but when I can be present with it and really go into it, that's when I start to really come into more of an understanding and a relationship with it that's healthier. And by no means do I feel like I'm about to die. Like, I know I walk around feeling protected. Like, I know that nobody can hurt me. Nobody is going to hurt me. Nobody is going to kill me. None of that. Like, I'm not going to die like, tomorrow. Like, I know that I'm here to carry out my purpose, and I'm very sure of that. And so I don't really feel like it's that it's my purpose to die. Like, some people, they carry out their purpose and then they die. And they die young. Or their purpose, the way that they died, was part of their purpose, you know? But like for me, I feel like I don't feel that way. And so I feel like what the presence inspires within me is, it becomes easier for me to meditate, and it becomes easier for me to focus on my breath, because being very like aware of the presence of death is like being aware of the presence of life. And so I'm able to really like feel my entire body breathing, and feel like what it is like to be housed in this body. And it's like a meditative tool for me, is to contemplate death. And that's something that I would like to share, because I'm going to start teaching classes pretty soon, which is part of it. I'm very excited about that. But part of it is, one offering in particular, I would like to have like meditative, um, a meditation piece. And I think that this is definitely important, you know, to think about and to contemplate, you know, as a part of your spiritual practice, because it's just there, And like, I went to the ocean with my friend. A few weeks ago, we were at like Santa Monica Beach, and we went to the ocean, and I felt the ocean. I saw the ocean before me. It was nighttime, and the ocean was the ocean was roaring, and it was alive, and it was like its own body, like the body of water was its own person, and it was like it had its own power. And then there was the sky and the beach and the vastness of nature. And I had then death came to visit again and just spooked me, and I came into that hyper awareness. And like what I felt in that moment was that when I die feeling like I am the ocean and I am everything, that like I am like all of this, like feeling actually like literally like my presence is everywhere and like spread out, like being all of it, being gone, like goneness, and being a part of it as well, like having a consciousness just shift into something that's greater than like a singular perspective, and being gone, you know, and being a part of everything at once. And then I realized as well, like, because I shared this with, you know, with my friend, and I was like, I was like, who needs to get high when you can just understand like this is why people smoke weed, is to feel these things, to see these things, understand these things. And we walked closer to the ocean, and I realized we talked about it. I mean, she's not really afraid of death. She was like, aren't you excited though? It's like, no, I'm not excited. But we walked closer to the ocean, we talked about it, and I realized that um, my fear of death is connected to, a lot of other fears about things that I can experience in life. It's not a fear of life itself, but it's like a fear of like, there's, fears of like, I know that, of certain metaphysical, like, just like certain realities and certain experiences and certain states of being that are like that are uh, different or unknown or unrecognizable, or seeing certain spirits in like new forms and all those things, and like certain kinds of magic and floating and all that shit. And I was like, I have fears about that too, and that's connected to my fear of death. And I feel like if I were ready to like experience and like delve into some of those things, which is really from delving into yourself, like, and your consciousness, and opening yourself up to other realms and other kinds of experiences consciously, not with drugs, but with just like you being consciously navigating these things. I feel like I would like death would just be kind of like another part of that, because that's what it is. It's just like consciousness. Those are my musings for today. Uh, I'm so grateful that I was able to share with you guys. I know I've had my ups and downs with YouTube, and last time I made a video on here, and I put it up and I deleted it within 12 hours because I had a strange feeling of like not knowing who I was talking to. And I had that weird voyeuristic feeling again, where people were liking my video but they weren't really engaging with me, or I didn't know what it is that I didn't understand like the interaction, and I felt like this weird exchange. But I also understand like I didn't really give it a fair chance. So I just deleted all my videos where I was talking, and like I just find that like, I'm still figuring out how I want to express myself through videos, and how best to do this, and how best to harness this energy in a way that is mutually beneficial. But I feel good about making this video and sharing with you guys, and I really appreciate your presence. And for those who watched the whole video, thank you so much for sharing presence with me. And I really appreciate all of you. I have so much gratitude in just like continuing on this journey and this path, you know. Um, and yeah, just oneness. Thank you so much. And I love you all. Peace. Happy New Year.